Peace TV English, the solution for humanity.
In the name of Allah, our Creator, the Creator of the universe and of everything that's in it, I greet you all, the reviewers, in our Islamic way. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May Allah's peace, blessings and mercy be with you all. And I begin this episode, which is entitled Scientific Notions in the Sunnah. And the Sunnah is the tradition of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is quoted to have said, أُوتِيتُ الْقُرْآنَ وَمِثْلَهُ مَعَهُ. I was given the Quran and the like of it with it. So the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, are actually a part of the divine revelation. It does not rank to the accuracy of the preservation of the Quran, letter to letter and word to word, yet it's part of the divine guidance that came down to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And for a Muslim, we have to believe in both the Quran and the Sunnah, which are the basic foundations and the main sources of the last form of divine guidance to man from our Creator. The Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is mainly concerned with the religion, with its four basic foundations: faith, acts of worship, the moral code, and the code of transactions with others. Yet we find in the Sunnah many scientific notions that can testify to the might, knowledge, and will of the Creator, can testify to the correct prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and can be an address to the people of our time. Allah knows in His eternity that time will come when man will excel in the area of science and technology, and he will be in need for some scientific proofs for the prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and for the divine nature of the glorious Quran. Because of this, Allah has infilled the Quran with more than 1,000 cosmic verses, and has given to Muhammad, peace be upon him, a large number of scientific facts that came in his speech, not as pieces of scientific information per se, but they come in the context of giving an example, of giving a paradigm, in giving a message, in giving a piece of wisdom. And these can remain absolutely correct from the scientific point of view, because they are a guidance from the Creator, all glory be to Him. I will not elaborate on the technicalities of dealing with the scientific notions in the Sunnah, although I have written a book on the scientific notions in the Sunnah in both Arabic and English, and part of that has been translated also in French. Yet I will give some examples about the scientific precision in many of the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, although these scientific notions can come in the context of giving an example, of giving a piece of wisdom, in giving a parallel, in giving a paradigm. And because of the fact that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was not talking out of his own knowledge, but he was revealing scientific facts taught to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I think these can be used today as a good way of inviting others to the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which is bitterly attacked by many arrogant scholars of the time, especially Orientalists, who do not know much about the Sunnah of the Prophet, yet we have to emphasize to every Muslim that the main sources of Islam are Quran and Sunnah. And the Sunnah, or the tradition of the Prophet ﷺ, elaborates many of the Quranic verses and explains many of the acts of worship and outlines many of the pillars of faith in Islam. I have here a hadith by the Prophet ﷺ, quoted in Muslim, Imam Muslim. The Prophet ﷺ, in that lengthy hadith, is quoted to have said, النجوم أمنة للسماء النجوم أمنة للسماء فإذا ذهبت النجوم أتى السماء ما توعد. The stars are points of preservation of the firmament. And we know that the stars are mainly in the first firmament. The other firmaments, other 6 firmaments, do not contain stars or planets. It has got a means of ornamentation other than stars and the planets. Stemming from the Quran, وَلَقَدْ زَيَّنَّا سَمَاءَ الدُّنْيَا بِمَصَابِيحِ. Verily we have ornamented the first firmament by lamps, which are the stars. So the Prophet ﷺ says, النجوم أمانة للسماء. Stars are the main points of security for the first firmament. فإذا ذهبت النجوم أتى السماء ما توعد. If these stars would collapse, then everything will collapse. فإذا ذهبت النجوم أتى السماء ما توعد. وأنا أمانة لأصحابي. And the Prophet ﷺ is saying, and me is a means of security to my companions. فإذا ذهبت أتى أصحابي ما يوعدون. If I would pass away, many problems will arise for my companions. وأصحابي أمانة لأمتي. And my companions are points of security for my ummah, my nation, the Islamic nation. فإذا ذهب أصحابي أتى الأمة ما توعد. If my companions would pass away, the Muslim ummah would face many difficulties. And the very first part of the hadith, this section of the hadith, النجوم أمانة للسماء, is the most striking scientific fact in this hadith. Although it came in the context of giving an example, of giving a paradigm. النجوم أمانة للسماء فإذا ذهبت النجوم أتى السماء ما توعد. Stars are points of security for the first firmament. Nowadays we know that stars are actually central points for governing the first firmament through gravity. And stars can have different densities. A star like our sun is a young star. It's very light, has got very low density, yet it has got the capacity to govern all the planets and other heavenly bodies in our solar system. By the gravity of the sun, all the planets and their satellites are governed by the gravity of the sun. When we look to the galaxy, which is a big group of clusters of the solar systems, we find what we call the neutron stars. Neutron stars are excessively dense heavenly bodies. They have a density of about 1 billion tons to a cubic centimeter. So these neutron stars are again centers of gravity that can control a galaxy containing billions of solar systems. And we also have what we call the black holes. And the black hole has got a much higher density than a neutron star. The density of a black hole is estimated at the range of 250 billion tons for every cubic centimeters. So stars are actually centers of gravity. Each star with a specific gravity can control a group of the heavenly bodies. Our sun can control planets and satellites in our solar system. The neutron stars and the black holes can control galaxies as well as galactic concentrations. So the science of astronomy came very lately to realize that actually the gravitational pull of the different stars in our firmament are actually the points of security of this firmament. Who would have taught Muhammad this? May Allah's peace, blessing and mercy be with him. Who would have taught him this 14 centuries ago, other than the Creator himself? Who in his community would ask him about such a question, unless Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given him that knowledge, so that people of our time can read this saying of his, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and can see in it enough scientific notions that can testify to his prophethood, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. This is just one simple example for the scientific precision of Prophet Muhammad. May Allah's mercy and blessings be with him. I quote another hadith by the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where he sallallahu alayhi wasallam is quoted to have said, كانت الكعبة خشعة على الماء فدحيت منها الأرض. The Kaaba was on a piece of elevated land surrounded by water, and then the whole land mass was expanded from it. كانت الكعبة خشعة على الماء فدحيت منها الأرض. Something very, very strange for an unlettered prophet, peace be upon him, in an unlettered society, to spell out such a scientific fact that never came to the knowledge of man until the last few decades of the 20th century. The Kaaba was standing on a piece of volcanic island, an oceanic island, surrounded by water. Recent scientific discoveries tell us that our Earth, in one of its earliest phases, was completely covered by water. There was no land mass. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, through his eternal will, caused the central axis of that ocean to collapse by a rift system. And this rift system has got a depth of between 65 kilometers and 150 kilometers. The thickness of the oceanic crust under seas and ocean is only 5 to 8 kilometers. I will, inshallah, continue with explaining the scientific precedents in that hadith after a short break, and then I will come to you. So I will stop here, hoping to see you after a short break.
Marriage or divorce?
What's Islamic ruling?
Nikah.
Solution or problem? Heaven or hell?
There is a misconception.
You choose. Beauty, wealth, family status, virtue. Decide what you want. Decide your choice. Be sad or be happy. It's your choice. Join Dr. Zakir Naik in Better Half or Bitter Half every Friday at 6:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 9:30 a.m. UK on Peace TV.
Where truth is hidden, misleading quotations create confusion. Where truth is hidden, lack of knowledge and wisdom cause upheaval and commotion. Where truth is hidden, manipulated scriptures and twisted facts emerge. This very hidden truth creates false propaganda, mayhem, chaos, disorder, and turmoil in our lives and the world order. But is there anyone with courage and wisdom? What is the truth, and who has the courage to expose it? Because it's your right to know the truth.
Watch truth prevail and lies perish in Truth Exposed by Dr. Zakir Naik every Sunday to Friday at 9 p.m. and repeat telecast at 7:30 a.m. UK on Peace TV.
Welcome back. After this short break, I have to continue with an authentic hadith quoted after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, where he is quoted to have said, كانت الكعبة خشعة على الماء فدحيت منها الأرض. The Kaaba was standing on an oceanic island surrounded by water, and then the whole land mass was expanded from below the Kaaba. This very authentic hadith by the Prophet ﷺ that was found to be strange in its meaning by many scholars of the hadith was only very recently proved to be a scientific reality. Nowadays, science tells us that our planet in its early phases was completely covered by water. There was no land mass. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused the axial part of that ocean to be rifted by deep rifts. These rifts range in length between 65 kilometers and 150 kilometers. And if we understand that the crust of the earth below oceans is very thin, it's only 5 to 8 kilometers thick, and if you penetrate that crust with such deep folds, these rift systems can reach what we call the zone of weakness, in which we find rocks in a semi-molten stage, and then volcanicity would take place to build up what we call an oceanic ridge. And actually, all the oceans of our time constitute or have at their axial parts oceanic ridges. The very first peak of that oceanic ridge that was riven above the water level constituted an oceanic island. Then Allah sent His angels to build the Kaaba on the very first part of land mass that He created. And that's why Allah has blessed the site of the Kaaba, the Haram of the Kaaba, on the very first moment of the creation of the universe, as stated in the Quran and in the Sunnah. So from that volcanic vent, from this volcanic island, similar to the Hawaiian Islands, the Philippine Islands, the Japanese Islands, the Indonesian Islands, all these are volcanic islands emanating from the bottoms of the oceans. So the Kaaba was built by the angels on the very first piece of land mass that was created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah has blessed that area, the area of the Kaaba, the Haram of Mecca al-Mukarramah. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was quoted to have said that, or after he was asked, what was the first mosque in which Allah was worshipped on the surface of that planet? He said, Al-Kaaba, the Kaaba. And then he was asked, what after that? He answered, Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, the farthest mosque. What was the span of time between building the Kaaba and the Masjid al-Aqsa? He said 40 years. And 40 years in the span of the history of the earth, which is calculated to about 5,000 million years, the oldest rocks on earth, 5,000 million years, in a universe estimated to be around 14 billion years. So this is nothing. And that's why we know that both the Kaaba and the farthest mosque, Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, were built on a blessed land, built by the angels in preparation for the coming of Adam and Eve. May Allah be pleased with them both. So the Prophet ﷺ emphasized this fact, this scientific fact that only came to human knowledge in the last few decades of the 20th century. كانت الكعبة خشعة على الماء فدحيت منها الأرض. The Kaaba was a prominence on the surface of water, then the whole land mass was expanded from it. Science tells us today that the whole land mass grew from a single volcanic vent or a series of volcanic vents in one oceanic island. And through the volcanic activity of this volcanic island, the whole landmass was built in the form of a single continent, which scientists call it the mother continent, or the mother of all continents, or Pangaea. And this continent was split by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala into the 7 main continents of our time. And these continents started to drift away from each other until they reached their present site. Because of this, Mecca has always been and will always be at the center of the landmass. If we draw a circle having Mecca at its apex, at its center, this circle can encompass all the land masses of our globe. And this is again a physical sign for the nobility, for the honor, for the blessed nature of Al-Haram Al-Makki. And because of this, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has spelled out, has explained this fact that came to human knowledge only a few decades ago. And for an unlettered Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in an unlettered society to speak about this scientific fact, which only came to human notice during the late 60s, early 70s of the 20th century. And I dare say that many scientists of our time do not know anything about it. Who would have told Muhammad, peace be upon him, about this scientific fact other than the Creator himself? And who in his community would have forced him to spell that out? Why Allah taught him this knowledge? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all glory be to him, knows in his eternal knowledge that time will come when man will discover this fact, that all the land mass of our time was created from a single volcanic vent on a mid-oceanic ridge within the primordial ocean that covered our globe. And because of this, Allah has made the Kaaba, or Makkah al-Mukarramah, or Al-Haram al-Makki, has made that to be always at the focal point, at the central point of the continental masses. And that's why I dare say that this simple hadith can remain as a living testimony to the correct prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and to the fact that he, may Allah's peace and the blessings be with him all the time, he was always connected with the divine guidance. He was not speaking out of his own memory. He was speaking about what he was taught by Archangel Jibreel alayhi salam. So this hadith again can remain as a living testimony to the correct prophethood of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and a living testimony that he was always connected with the divine guidance. And that's why the Quran describes him by the Quranic verses, وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى عَلَّمَهُ شَدِيدُ الْقُوَى. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was not pronouncing his own ideas, or his own desires, or his own aspirations, or his own wishes. وَمَا يَنْطِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَى إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَى. Verily, it's only a divine guidance revealed to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through Archangel Jibreel. عَلَّمَهُ شَدِيدُ الْقُوَى. He was taught that by a mighty angel, Jibreel alayhi salam, until the other verses in Surah An-Najm. So I here emphasize the fact that every scientific notion in the sayings of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, can be used as a living testimony to testify to his correct prophethood, and to testify to the fact that these words uttered by him did not come out of his own thinking, not come out of his own memory, did not come out of his own mind, but was revealed to him by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this can testify to his correct prophethood. This hadith, كانت الكعبة غشعة على الماء فدحيت منها الأرض. The Kaaba was a prominence on the surface of water, and all the land mass was actually expanded from it, is a scientific miracle by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. The Quran says, إن أول بيت وضع للناس للذي ببكة مباركا وهدى للعالمين. Verily, the very first house that was established as a house of worship for humanity at large is the one in Mecca or Mecca. So the Kaaba was not built by man. It was built by the angels. And the farthest mosque was built 40 years later by the angels. And Allah has blessed these two places and made them holy places, the Kaaba and Al-Masjid Al-Aqsa, so that people may not forget about the Islamic obligation to liberate the Aqsa from the hands of the occupiers of our time. So really this hadith contains a large quantity of scientific knowledge that was not known at the time of Muhammad, peace be upon him, and there was no way for anybody to know anything about it. And inshallah I will continue with other examples from the scientific notions in the Sunnah, and until the coming episode I leave you with the blessings and mercy of Allah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Marriage is the cornerstone for a successful society. How can we maintain a successful marriage? Join us in this journey where we learn how to plan for it, execute it, maintain it, and end it according to Islam.
Grasp the unique philosophy of Islam to make marriages successful in Marriage and Divorce. Every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 11 p.m. and repeat telecast at 12:30 p.m. UK on Peace TV. Marriage or divorce?
What's Islamic ruling?
Nikah.
Solution or problem? Heaven or hell?
There is a misconception.
You choose. Beauty, wealth, family status, virtue. Decide what you want. Decide your choice. Be sad or be happy. It's your choice. Join Dr. Zakir Naik in Better Half or Bitter Half every Friday at 6:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 9:30 a.m. UK on Peace TV.